In the crowded heart of Cebu City, where narrow streets twist between small wooden homes and the smell of the ocean mixes with the smoke of street vendors' grills, lived a 16-year-old boy named Eli Santos. Life for Eli had never been soft or comfortable. His family lived in a tiny shack held together by rusted nails and patched walls. When it rained, droplets slipped through the roof and landed on the floor like quiet reminders of their struggles. His father worked long nights as a fisherman, often returning home with empty nets, and his mother washed clothes for neighbors to earn a few extra pesos. Poverty surrounded them like an invisible cage, but Eli always carried something inside him that poverty couldn't steal: his voice. Eli discovered singing when he was 8. He would sit outside their house near the shoreline, listening to an old radio from a neighbor's window. That radio played songs from distant places, but one song struck him deeper than all the others: Hotel California. The guitar melody felt like it knew his pain, and the lyrics wrapped around him like a story he had lived himself. From then on, the song became his escape, something that lifted him higher than the hunger and the difficult days could pull him down. Every evening after helping his father mend fishing nets or carrying water from the community pump, Eli would practice the song until the sky turned dark. One afternoon a local volunteer group announced open auditions for young Filipino singers. The winner would be taken to Ireland to perform on Ireland's Got Talent. When Eli heard the news, his heart raced. He had never been on a real stage, never even imagined leaving the Philippines, but deep inside he felt a voice whisper, "Try." With no decent clothes and no money for transportation, Eli walked barefoot all the way to the audition hall. His shirt was worn out, his pants torn at the knee, but when he stepped in front of the judges, he sang with such emotion that the room fell silent. He didn't just sing the song, he lived it. They selected him immediately. Now, months later, Eli stood backstage in Ireland, gripping the only guitar he had ever owned, borrowed from a neighbor in Cebu. The edges were chipped, and the strings were old, but to him it felt like home. The stage lights spilled into the wings, bright and blinding, and the muffled sound of thousands of people made his chest feel tight. This wasn't the quiet street of Cebu anymore. This was a world he had only seen on TV. He feared for a moment that he didn't belong, that someone like him, a simple boy from a poor family, had no place on a stage like this. But when his name was called, he took a deep breath and walked forward. The hall went quiet. The judges looked at him with curiosity, noticing his shy eyes and simple clothing. "Where are you from?" one of them asked. "Cebu City, Philippines," he answered softly. They smiled gently, encouraging him. And in that moment, Eli felt something shift inside him. Here he was, thousands of miles from home, about to sing the song that had carried him through the hardest days of his life. He closed his eyes, breathed in the warm stage lights, and prepared to pour his whole heart into the moment that could change everything. When the spotlight settled on Eli, he felt its warmth sink into his skin like a silent promise. His fingers trembled slightly as they touched the strings of the old guitar, the same one he had carried from Spain to Cebu and now all the way to Ireland. The judges leaned forward, the audience grew still. Thousands of eyes waited for him to begin, but for a moment Eli felt as if the entire world had faded away. All he could think about were the faces of his parents, the sound of Cebu's waves, and the countless nights he had practiced this song in the darkness of their tiny home. He inhaled deeply and began to play the first soft chords of Hotel California. The melody spread through the hall in gentle waves, instantly familiar yet strangely more emotional than anyone expected. The crowd recognized the song immediately, but what they didn't expect was the voice that followed. Eli's first lyric floated out like something fragile but powerful, a voice shaped by hardship, hunger, hope, and impossible dreams. His tone was raw, like he was singing from a place deep inside that most people never touch. The audience reacted instantly. They leaned in, quieting, feeling his words more than hearing them. Judge Maria Donnelly, known for her sharp critiques and even sharper emotions, felt her throat tighten. She had seen hundreds of performances, but something about this boy, this fragile, trembling teenager from Cebu, made her eyes sting with tears. His voice carried the weight of someone who had lived more struggle than his young age should hold. Every lyric sounded like it belonged to him personally. As Eli continued, his confidence grew. His fingers stopped shaking. His voice rose, filling the hall with a haunting beauty that wrapped around every listener like a story unfolding right in front of them. People in the balcony leaned on the rails, holding their breath. Others placed hands over their hearts. Some began wiping their cheeks without realizing tears had escaped. Judge Liam Harrington stood up slowly, stunned by the emotional depth he heard. His expression shifted from curiosity to disbelief, then to pure admiration. He didn't even realize he was standing until the cameras caught him. The audience murmured softly, surprised by the judge's reaction. When Eli reached the chorus, he poured every memory, every hunger pang, every dream, every bit of love for his family into the notes. It was as if the hardships of Cebu, the broken nets, the nights with empty plates, the dim candlelight he practiced under, echoed through his voice. The hall, which moments before had been buzzing with energy, was now silent except for his singing. People weren't just listening, they were feeling. By the time he reached the final verse, the entire audience was in tears. Some cried quietly, others sobbed openly. The judges stared at him with wet eyes, barely able to speak. When he strummed the last chord, the final note hung in the air for a long second, suspended like a heartbeat. Then the hall erupted. Thousands rose to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. Eli stood frozen, overwhelmed, clutching his guitar like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. He had never seen so many people cry, not for him, not for anyone. And in that moment, he realized he had done something extraordinary. He had touched the soul of every person in the room. The applause still thundered through the hall when Eli lowered his guitar, his chest rising and falling quickly as he tried to understand what had just happened. His eyes darted across the crowd, thousands of people still standing, still clapping, still wiping tears. It felt unreal, like a dream too big for someone like him. He wanted to cry, but the shock held his tears still. The stage lights blurred slightly as he blinked, overwhelmed. Judge Liam Harrington finally found his voice. He leaned into his microphone, but his tone was soft, almost shaking. Eli, I've heard this song my entire life, but never like this. You didn't just sing it, son, you lived it. You poured your soul into it, and we all felt it. He paused, looking directly at the boy. It takes a very special kind of courage to stand here, far away from home, with nothing but a dream and a guitar. And you turned this stage into magic. Eli felt a lump rise in his throat. He lowered his head, swallowing hard, struggling not to break down in front of the cameras. The audience murmured emotionally, feeling the weight of the judge's words. Judge Maria Donnelly wiped her cheeks before speaking. You remind us why we watch this show, she said, her voice cracking. Not for perfect voices, not for fancy clothes, but for people like you, a boy from Cebu who came here with nothing, and made this entire hall feel something real. You reminded us that music is not about money or fame. It's about heart, pure heart. Tears finally spilled down Eli's face. He tried to speak, but the emotions choked him silent. His hands trembled as he clutched the guitar closer to his chest. The third judge, Declan Shaw, leaned forward. Eli, he said gently, what you did here tonight will not be forgotten. I don't know what your life has been like, but I know it has not been easy. And yet you came here and gave us a performance that people will talk about for years. The crowd erupted again, cheering his name. Eli, Eli, Eli. Maria turned to her fellow judges, her eyes shining with a decision forming inside her. The audience sensed it too. The entire hall seemed to hold its breath. She placed her hand over the golden buzzer, her expression full of emotion. This, she whispered, looking at Eli, is for every dream you never thought you'd reach. She slammed the golden buzzer. In an instant, the hall exploded with golden confetti. It rained down like blessings from heaven, swirling through the air and falling on Eli's hair, his shoulders, his guitar. The sound of the crowd grew louder and louder until the stage vibrated beneath his feet. Eli collapsed to his knees, sobbing openly now. Not from sadness. This was years of hunger, sacrifice, hope, fear, and love bursting out all at once. The judges rushed to him, surrounding him, pulling him into a group embrace. You deserve this, Liam whispered beside him. Your family will be so proud. Far away in Cebu, in a small wooden house by the water, his mother watched the glowing TV screen and pressed both hands over her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Her little boy, the boy who sang in the dark to forget his hunger, was now shining under golden lights in a country she had never even seen. And in that unforgettable moment, Eli Santos realized his life had changed forever.